Stugotz here for DraftKings. Football season is right around the corner. I cannot wait, and I cannot wait to play daily fantasy football on DraftKings.com. I love it, and there's no better way to get closer to the game you love than with DraftKings 1 Week Fantasy Football. To celebrate, DraftKings is hosting a $100,000 contest that is totally free to enter, and if you draft the perfect lineup, you can win $1 billion. Billion with a B. With DraftKings, there are many ways to play. Choose between public contests with big cash prizes or private contests where you can compete against a group of your friends. DraftKings also has beginner and casual contests where you'll play against people of similar skill level. The best part is you get to draft a new team each week without any commitment. So go to DraftKings.com right now. Use promo code HUDDLE to play in DraftKings free Week 1 contest with $100,000 in total prizes. And if you draft the perfect lineup, you can win $1 billion. That's promo code HUDDLE to play for your shot to win $1 billion Week 1. The contest is totally free to enter. Why wouldn't you try? DraftKings, the game inside the game. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be way too complicated, but there is a better, simpler way to buy. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to live events. And right now, get a $20 rebate on your first purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code Batard today.
I don't know what the start date was on this show, but we've got to be approaching 15 years doing this. We have to be close to 15 years doing a radio show. And I marvel consistently that when I come in here with no preparation on my end beyond, just following worldly events,
that
we never run out of things to talk about. Nope. And so today, I want to tell you what I walked into today. This is what I walked into today. For some reason, Guillermo is waving papers at me menacingly, okay? And he's not saying what they are. He's just waving papers at me menacingly. And while this is happening, Stugotz is scouring the internet to see if anyone is running a scam that he could be running.
Yep.
And so he finds, he yells at Mike, hey, someone's selling our memorabilia on the internet. Now, that is not because of any other reason other than if someone's going to be selling our memorabilia on the internet, Stugotz wants to be the one who's getting a percentage of the memorabilia being sold on the internet. So please explain to me what happened here where you found somehow that someone is selling a hat of ours. It's not even like someone put up a shop of Batard and Stugotz memorabilia.
Right.
It's just somebody selling a hat of ours.
And I was just making sure that everyone on the show is aware that someone was selling our memorabilia on eBay. That's all. I was just making people aware because I'm not certain we're allowed to do that. So, I'm not certain anyone's allowed to do that.
We are not.
We are not allowed to do it, but apparently other people are, and that doesn't seem fair to me, but it's for a good cause, so go ahead, I guess.
It doesn't seem fair to you to sell something on eBay that you own?
Well, do you actually own it? If it was gifted to you, do you actually own it? You know what? It's a great idea. I'm jealous I didn't think of it.
So anyways, that's what was happening. What was also happening in the middle of that is Joe Hayden was waived by the Browns. The Dolphins, Jay Ajayi is going to join us later in the show. And the Dolphins could use a guy like that. The Dolphins are weak there and could absolutely use Joe Hayden. Here's the problem. Joe Hayden is in a weird netherworld occupied by the tight end of the Washington team and a couple of other guys where you don't know if his brain is scrambled. Joe Hayden just vanished. Joe Hayden was very good as a cornerback, and then weirdly, in a way that usually doesn't happen in sports, he just disappeared. And so for weeks and weeks, I was having Allison call Joe Hayden. Hey, does Joe want to talk about what's happening to his head? And so now the Browns release him.
Yep.
Because God knows what they know about what's happened to his head.
He did come back since and was okay. It was a huge mystery. What the hell happened to Joe Hayden's head?
He has not been the same since all the head problems.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, he was really good at one point, as you pointed out. A couple of Pro Bowls, was second team All-NFL. He was a really good player.
Well, these guys don't become available at your greatest position of need, but that's where the Dolphins are. The Dolphins need secondary help.
Yep, and Drew Rosenhaus came out and said that there are plenty of NFL teams that are interested in Joe Hayden. He's only 28 years old, and I think the Dolphins should go after him before the Patriots do.
I know, but
the Patriots will.
Well, but this is your move, though. Are you not listening to what I'm saying on the front end?
I am.
Do you not care that the Browns just waived him? The Browns just waived him. It's not like they've got a surplus of great players. And they've got more information than we do.
Right.
So and it's not a cost cut, although it is partially a cost cut, but it wouldn't be a painful cost for them if he was still good or if they thought he was still value.
I understand that. He played 13 games last year, so it appears that he's healthy. Maybe he's on the decline. Maybe he's not the player he once was, but the Dolphins have a glaring need at that position, and he's available.
So it doesn't give you pause at all?
The Browns also have glaring needs in that secondary. Their secondary is pretty poor, even with him. And for them to make the decision that he's not good enough to make their secondary with his contract probably playing a part in it, let's not kid ourselves, that should be a pretty big red flag for you.
Well, but here's why I love Stugotz. And hate Stugotz.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't take inventory of much of anything. He just, the priority on these things is just go get the name. And so it's not like the Dolphins have already experienced this exact situation with a former Browns player that they had at tight end. I think that this exact situation where they needed a tight end.
Man.
What?
That Browns player, that tight end, was never as good at his position that Joe Hayden was at his.
Excuse me.
You take a little flyer on Joe Hayden.
Excuse me. Jordan Cameron was a Pro Bowler, and everyone was saying that was an exciting signing. And I was telling you, as a Browns fan, that dude is one hit away from being done.
They've already done this.
Yeah.
You don't care. Okay.
So you don't try again? That's it? You did it once, it failed, and that's it. You never try it again?
This is what I would like to do one time. One time in your life of priorities, yes. I'd like the name not to be the thing that goes straight to the top of your list whenever anyone's available, which is how we arrived at the place that Stugotz was trying to sign a 51-year-old Scottie Pippen for the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
By the way, I think we're about 13 years into this, and that anniversary is coming up soon. I googled Chidi Ahanatu signing with the Miami Dolphins because the first words ever uttered on the show were Chidi Ahanatu, and he signed September 1st, 2004.
Do you remember when? That sounds right. That sounds like when the station started, right?
September yeah, around 2000. Yeah, 2004, somewhere in that. Maybe 2003. But somewhere in that.
Yeah, you weren't on the air for the Marlins World Series win, so it was a year after that.
So right, that's correct. Year after that. By the way, Jordan Cameron had the year before the Dolphins signed him.
He wasn't very good.
He was terrible. So,
he didn't play very much, did he?
He played in 10 games, had 24 catches, 424 yards.
Yeah, he was hobbled by concussions. That was a weird year. But the year before that,
he was good.
He was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Mike, I would say I also want Joe Hayden, but I would say the addendum to that is I have no idea what I'm talking about because how can anybody if you don't know what's happening inside of his brain?
Right. I don't know that information either. I don't know anything about Joe Hayden other than at one point he was a really, really good cornerback, and the Dolphins need a cornerback. So why not take a flyer on Joe Hayden?
But okay, let's start again.
Okay.
Why are the Browns releasing good players when they don't have many of them?
Either they have concerns about his health, his head, his performance, combination of all three. Those would be the obvious reasons. And the contract, maybe.
Well, let me ask you.
He did sign that big contract, right?
A couple of years ago. I will say, as a Browns fan, I've seen Joe Hayden a lot. He's sort of hit or miss, but he does step up to the challenge for the most part when he's facing a great receiver.
One thing that's in play here that bears noting, this seems to be something that the Browns decided after watching him play during these exhibition games, because this is late for something that nobody saw coming.
Right.
And if you were going to waive Joe Hayden, you probably go into the beginning of preseason thinking, we're going to waive him, let's waive him now. My guess is they weren't thinking that. They saw him play and then decided it. Decided it late in the game because football's about to start here, and you could always use a guy like that. Mike, help me out. Do they have somebody waiting in the wings that they believe to be exceptional?
I would doubt it, but they probably have someone in the wings that they think can give them the same thing that Joe Hayden's given them at
for a far
cheaper price.
Well, I saw this the other day, and I'm going to forget the name of the player involved in this. A football team waived a guy who has been battling an assortment of stuff, and he doesn't seem physically able, and then they get him out of there, and they take away his job. Does it give any of you pause just how uniquely disposable this league is? Not just because we're using bodies for our entertainment, but specifically the idea that Joe Hayden is scrambled and now he's being waived. And that injury was on company time and his brain. Like, does it seem right to you that a player who gets brain injuries on company time can be waived. Does it seem correct to you?
No, none of it really seems correct or fair. Unfortunately, the players, the CBA is set up in a way where the owners can do that, where the teams can do that, but it doesn't feel fair at all. No, it doesn't seem right. Of course it doesn't.
Sam Shields is a player that dealt with
That's the
a
guy
similar
I was
issue.
Thank you.
Several
Sam
concussions.
Shields just vanished. Sam Shields, thank you.
Currently a free agent.
He was playing defense. I don't know where Sam Shields went. Like, Sam Shields was really good. Sam Shields was the example of Randy Shannon not being good at his job because he had Sam Shields, and Sam Shields was really fast, and he didn't do much of anything with Sam Shields, and then Sam Shields goes to the Packers, becomes a legitimate NFL cornerback who's very good, and then his head starts hurting.
Right.
And then he fades, and now is he totally out of football? Is he anywhere in football?
Free agent, no job.
Crazy.
How old is he? He's like 20. He's younger than Hayden, isn't he?
He's got to be.
He's 29.
All right, so he's not a year older. Mike, did they take Peppers? And they got Pryor from the Jets.
But
I know they got Pryor from the Jets, and they took Peppers, so maybe they didn't have as much of a need for Hayden.
Those are two safeties. You need somebody on the outside, especially in your division where you're playing A.J. Green and Antonio Brown twice a season.
Right.
Do you realize that the AFC East, again, is so weak?
Yep.
That it would be maybe the biggest surprise in football if the Patriots don't win that division? Because the division is so incredibly weak. The Jets, it's hard to see a game they'll win.
It is, except for that Cleveland game. That's a possibility.
It's hard to see a game the Jets
Jaguars at home. So I've talked myself into a 2-2 start here for the Jets. I have 2-2.
A 2-2 start on a 2-14 season.
Yeah. I mean, I have them losing at Buffalo, losing at Oakland, and then home wins against the Dolphins and the Jaguars. 2-2.
The Browns signed Jason McCourty over the offseason, another older player that can play a couple positions around the secondary that maybe they thought can give them similar production to Joe Hayden and at a cheaper cost.
Texter writes in, what are you supposed to do, Dan? Keep them on the roster paying millions of dollars and then not let them play, waste a roster spot, and waste the money? Well, that's interesting that you think that way because, A, the roster spots don't have to be like that if you're actually interested in safety. Wasting the money doesn't have to be your money or your salary cap money if you want the insurance to take care of it or if you want to negotiate something that can actually help the player. Now, you've got a problem if they start faking injuries and stuff when they're leaving the sport or toward the tail end of their sport, which is why they can't do that. But there should be some instances for a Sam Shields or a Joe Hayden where we could do some math and say this person is not physically right. Clearly, they've missed chunks and chunks of football season.
Right. Isn't that every other sport, though? Isn't that baseball and the NBA where if a guy now, they're not as physical, but the contracts are guaranteed?
Yes. Yeah, the contracts are guaranteed. You can't guarantee the contracts in football while having a salary cap for this reason, though.
Right. Yeah.
But you do realize, like, I just love, to me, it's always great when someone gets ensnared in sort of what the norm is, and so the norm is what it should be. So you're used to players being drafted, so there should be a draft. When a draft is ridiculous, and you're used to a salary cap, so you're saying we've got to do this within the realm of the salary cap, when a salary cap is also ridiculous. The idea that football has a salary cap, the football making that much money has a salary cap it's offensive. It is offensive.
Or make the cap a lot higher, something, right?
Correct.
Yes. It is offensive.
Football shouldn't have a salary cap.
No.
It's just because they can't control themselves because, they've got a salary cap because Daniel Snyder exists.
Pretty much, right, because he'll just keep spending.
And so the reason they have a salary cap is to put a governor on Daniel Snyder instead of saying, hey, free marketplace. Let's see if anybody wants to compete spending with Daniel Snyder.
So you're putting this all on Snyder?
I'm putting it on the owners.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. They're running their business. And then so the next person I put it on is DeMaurice Smith, because this is a very popular league, and he should be getting more for his guys.
But you know what'll happen there. We've seen it happen with the NBA, especially in football where all the players get hurt. They wouldn't be able to help themselves, these owners. They'd sign these players to ridiculous contracts, and then they'd get a high ankle sprain, and they'd want to put all these rules into place to prevent that from happening again.
Correct, but the rules are all in place for the owners, despite being collectively bargained with the players, which is why Brian Gumbel is coming after DeMaurice Smith on HBO Real Sports, and it's why DeMaurice Smith is telling you in 2021 we're almost certainly going to have a lockout, because he bleeped up his job, and he knows it now.
Right, if he still has that job.
Right, but he knows it now. Like he's saying lockout in 2021 because we got to fix all the stuff we got wrong last time.
Right, but I don't know if the players are willing to sit out. That's the key. Yes, I get so mad when I hear DeMaurice Smith go on Mike and Mike and blame everything on the owners. It's a deal he negotiated, he signed off on, he's in charge of it. But I don't know. You have to get the players to sit. I don't know if the players are going to be willing to sit.
Yeah, probably not.
It's easier said than done. Most of the people in that league are guys fighting for positions that have a very short window in their career.
That's why the owners always win the fights against the players in that sport, and that's why they never win them in baseball.
Most players have a one-year career in that league. You want them to sit out the entire year of their career?
What if just the starting quarterbacks decided to sit? Would you still watch the NFL? Meaning Rodgers, Brady, all those guys are like, hey, you guys play. We're not going to consider you to be scabs. Go play. We're going to sit for the cause here because we're the stars. We're the guys that everyone wants to see. Do you think you'd still tune in Sunday without Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers?
You guys are looking at Stugotz like he's crazy back there. What's wrong? You guys are looking at
idea.
Well, I mean, it's a horrible idea.
It's a pretty good idea.
It's never going well.
No, those guys can affect change. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, those guys can affect change.
We wouldn't watch that. We would not watch the league. The league would have its ratings go down if the quarterbacks were not in play, which is the reason that all the rules are different in football. Everybody on the field is playing football, and the quarterbacks are just playing throw a football.
Yeah.
The rules are totally different for the quarterback.
It's a breeze for them.
But for the reason that you're talking about, the owners know that. The owners would counter with, wait a minute, the quarterbacks are going to strike. You know what we're going to do? We're changing the rules back to how they were before, and you're going to get decapitated.
I honestly think the vast majority of NFL fans would be behind that. You'd really only have a couple upset markets like New England and Green Bay. Everyone else all of a sudden thinks they have a chance. Your Jets all of a sudden are in it.
Right, but I think all quarterbacks, now that I'm thinking about it, they all need to sit. Every one of them.
Okay, so run-heavy offense?
Yeah, just everyone. Even Josh McCown needs to sit.
All right, direct snaps.
Geno Smith needs to sit. Yeah.
All the backups until right at your front door of your office is looking to cross that line, Colin Kaepernick!
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Don Le Batard.
Hall of Famer Tony Perez pees in the shower. Hall of Famer Andre Dawson does not.
Stugotz.
That is the news that I bring you. I'm a journalist.
This is the Don Le Batard show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
It's amazing to me how angry people get when you suggest to them something as simple as how unfair a draft is. It's amazing to me that you're shaking their belief system on what it is that they're used to. Let me step back from this a second as I get bombarded with emails and texts complaining about the stupidity, how stupid I am in suggesting that there shouldn't be a draft. I find it weird that a lot of people don't like Bernie Sanders as one example because he is, quote unquote, a socialist. And that the NFL is one of the places where you're down with socialism. Like the idea that in Marxist theory, socialism is the spot between free capitalism and communism. You don't want free capitalism in football. And I'm looking at you like, why? Who's socialism helping here other than the rich guys? Like what? And the answer to that is, well, it keeps it even. I mean, football has so many injuries. It's not even. The Patriots always win, man. Like, it's not that even.
No, it's not.
Football is bizarre because in many ways, it's the most capitalistic venture, perhaps in this country. for the owners, but it is a sort of socialistic system for the teams and its players.
To me, I find it baffling anytime I mention this because a guy writes in here, Dan is the perfect example of an educated idiot. No draft. Can't believe how stupid you sound at times. And we're getting a lot of that. And don't you think it'd be more fun? Like, just never mind whether you agree with.
I mean, you take a draft night away from me? Is that what
I'm taking draft night away from you, but I'm allowing your owner to spend
whatever he wants on whomever he wants.
I'm taking the salary cap away, too. So,
wow.
I'm telling you that all your owners can spend as much as they like. You got Stephen Ross now. You realize that how excited you'd be if Stephen Ross was your owner? And there weren't a salary cap, it wouldn't matter what kind of boob he is because he'd be out there getting everybody.
But no more big board. You're ending Mel's job, probably McShay as well.
But basketball free agency all the time.
Yeah, you have a signing day instead, which would be super exciting.
Free agency all the time. Now you're recruiting the LeBrons. You're recruiting the pros instead of the college kids. We got Stugotz.
I don't know.
We got him reeled in a little bit.
I still got draft night. I still got Mel. I still have Gruden. I still have a big board. I still have the lead up.
You are ending Mel.
Draft grades. I mean, mock drafts.
Well, no, Mel can still project younger players because if you're removing a draft, there's a lot of young players that need talent evaluations. And who's going to be there? Mel Kiper and his hair.
Can we still have fantasy drafts? We're good there? You're not killing fantasy here, are you?
Why would he kill fantasy?
I'm just making sure. You said kill drafts. I want to make sure you weren't killing all drafts. Okay, so we can have fantasy drafts. I like this, a free agency frenzy for a weekend. All the guys come out of college and the NFL owners get this on.
I wish basketball and football didn't have salary caps.
Right.
And that the reason that they do that is to simply control costs. And they file it under parity, but that's not the reason that they do it.
But aren't all the good guys coming out of college going to sprint to the team with the best quarterbacks? Meaning if Rodgers is still around and you're doing this, aren't a lot of those good guys, and there's no cap, so the Packers can spend as much as they want.
I mean, Martellus Bennett just decided to go. He went.
My point is no one's going to the Jets.
No, but I'm just saying, Martellus Bennett did. If I'm not wrong on this, went Jay Cutler, Tony Romo, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think that's what right? Do I have that in order correctly? That's what Martellus Bennett did. I'm going to go to the places where
I'll tell you in a sec.
Guys maximize skilled people.
I'm not sure who the quarterback was in Dallas, but he went to Eli, then he went to Jay Cutler. That's kind of a lateral move. And then he went to Brady and now Rodgers, which is also kind of a lateral move. But
Romo, too. Romo's in there, too. He was with Dallas.
Yeah. So he started with Romo, then he went to Eli.
Am I wrong in thinking that Aaron Rodgers is going to turn Martellus Bennett into something enormous this year? Because he doesn't usually have talent like that at the skill position.
I've been scoping his fantasy projections, and they say they have a lot of targets, because I wasn't like, yeah, that's good. I remember what he did with Jermichael Finley, and that guy's a bum compared to Martellus. I want him.
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy?
Four Miller Lights into my fantasy draft.
No, but wait a minute. That's not you 4 Miller Lights in. It's also the demon that resides in your belly that evidently just comes out and speaks during excitable draft times.
Football times, you know, cliche sports. Very, very few things bring that out of me, but a fantasy draft amongst friends does that.
If I may, is that voice unique to fantasy draft, or is it enthusiasm?
It's my enthusiastic voice.
Okay, let's hear it having sex.
What?
Whoa.
That's not. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Oh, I'm done.
Yes.
That's actually me.
But that's also that guy.
Yeah.
That's also the guy who says that.
I'm sorry. This never happens.
No.
This never. I'm sorry. Never happens. Swear. First time. We'll go again.
Tomorrow.
Next day.
I'll get you.
Wait a minute. Now wait a minute. Now you're commenting by chasing Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket.
I'll kill you.
I'll get you.
I'll get you.
No, I'm sorry.
This never happens. Sorry.
I'll get you tomorrow. I love the idea of just incurring an orgasm debt and just I'll get you tomorrow. I'll owe you. My credit's good.
You're +1.
My credit's good here. I love how Mike went there. This first half hour of this show, Mike went there from being like, "Ooh, terrible idea, Dan. Why'd you do that to me? That's creepy. Me having sex," to finding the joke quickly,
embracing it
quickly.
Yeah, and you,
what did I do? I'm just looking at.
You You do seem distracted. What's going on?
I'm reading stuff about Joe Hayden, trying to figure out if this guy's any good or not. That's all.
Well, hold on, because Stugotz muttered during the break.
That's all I'm doing.
This is what we're just sitting around, we're typing, we're in our stuff, everybody's distracted, and we just hear Stugotz mutter into the microphone, bleeping information, man.
Hate it.
And it's because he was looking up Joe Hayden's rankings according to ProFootballFocus.com.
Yeah, no, it's, is that Football Outsiders? After horrendous injury-plagued 2015, Hayden ranked 76th out of 87 cornerbacks in adjusted yards per pass in 2016. And quarterbacks clearly aren't afraid of him anymore. Hayden's estimated target percentage has been over 20% the last 3 seasons.
Mike, Stugotz has a very conflicted relationship with information. Because there are times, and I see it, where he reads something, they are facts. They either change his opinion or support it in a way that's forceful. And his eyes, they like dilate. They turn big, and he gets excited, and he starts rubbing his nipples like the Cajun coach in Waterboy. And he's like, information. But he also wants to be lazy.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant yin and yang tug between the two things.
There's so much information, I'm just not certain which information I should trust. Like, I have no idea what this thing means. Like, cornerbacks and adjusted yards per pass in 2016. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I should trust this guy. I don't know if I should trust this site. Terry Pluto was his name. It was Terry Pluto.
Terry Pluto's a longtime columnist in Cleveland for 50 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, way to dismiss.
Well, what does that mean?
Okay.
Well, what does it mean? I mean, does any of this measure a guy's desire, his heart, his, if you surround him with the right team on the right defense, does it measure that? It doesn't measure that. It doesn't. I guarantee you put him on the Patriots this year, he makes a Pro Bowl. Maybe not at cornerback, perhaps wide receiver, but Joe Hayden will find himself in a Pro Bowl. Guarantee it. Pluto. You know what? Seriously, I want to get Terry Pluto on because, Dan, that's the stuff that bothers me. You can't measure that. What if Joe Hayden suddenly isn't the number one cornerback? What if he isn't guarding your number one wide receiver? Suddenly he's covering your number 2 wide receiver. I bet you those numbers are better.
Your words
Have Pluto do some analysis on that.
It's not Pluto's analysis.
Your words
facts.
Don't mean anything. I'll tell you why your words don't mean anything.
Stinks. I talk for a living.
But let me explain to you why your words don't mean anything. Okay. You just guaranteed us that Joe Hayden was going to make a Pro Bowl for the Patriots at wide receiver. That just happened. You said it, and then you guaranteed it. Your guarantee means nothing. Mm-hmm. Like you came back behind it, guaranteeing something that it's just remarkably asinine, and you're guaranteeing it. And now, when I ask for a refund on my guarantee on something that simply isn't going to happen, because if the Patriots signed Joe Hayden, they would play him at cornerback.
I'll get you tomorrow.
Dan Le Batard.
Can you imagine if, Mark Jackson was a llama?
Stugotz.
Llama? There goes that man.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
Stugotz, we got to figure something out here. We as the group have to figure something out about what to do with our televised product of our radio show, because Mike was just telling me that we're doing well enough on ESPNU. We're the biggest thing on ESPNU, but the next 3 days we're not on television, and so we have this area here to ourselves, and I'm telling you, it feels different not having all of those television people here, even though they've placated us by just hiding cameras, and there are no cameramen in the room while we're here. And really, given the way that this fortress is built, all I feel daily when we're doing the show is everyone who's involved in the show, Roy and Mike and Billy and Chris and Allison.
Sure.
But there are a bunch of people in the other room doing a bunch of different things that I rarely see except during commercial breaks. And I'm telling you, this feels a lot more comfortable with them not here. And I don't mean that as any sort of indictment of them, although I know it sounds like it.
Kind of sounds
no,
like
it. What I'm complaining about is I'm not sure how much I like what we do for television. That's what I'm complaining about.
Okay.
I like it on television. It looks good. I like what Lorenzo's doing with it.
Right. I think our listeners really enjoy the experience of being able to see us on TV, but I do understand what you're saying.
But there's not enough of them, Stugotz. Whatever it is, it's 60, 70, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, whatever it is. It's not enough to to dilute the amount of fun that we're having while we're doing it.
We push out a lot of content on social media that exists with a visual supplement only because of television. And I was a little surprised by the reaction today. I know maybe Twitter's not the best way to gauge this stuff, but I took to Twitter thinking that the reaction to, hey, we're doing a radio-only show, just because I know how it makes us feel while we're doing it, fans would be happy. Because typically when TV's off, we're all off. So no, hey, thank you for coming in and doing a radio-only show. Everybody was mad that we weren't on television.
Well, okay. I mean, I just don't know. When it comes to the stuff that we do, I like to measure value as we go along. And so when I'm making trades or we're making trades on fun for money, fun for audience, if we're actively trading comfort for reach,
right?
Those are the places where I stop, tap brakes. Where I start getting uncomfortable.
You're more comfortable today than you are, and it's not an indictment on the people that work for us. They're very nice. They're great, and they do a great job of staying out of the way, but you're more comfortable doing just radio?
Answer my question. Here, am I experiencing this differently than anyone else there? You guys tell me, Roy, I'm experiencing it differently? Okay.
Well, you're just different. I think you're just, we're not bothered by some of the things that might rattle you or bother you. At least I'm not. I shouldn't speak for everyone else.
This all sounds like complaining. I am not complaining. Look at how we dress for work in the morning. Look at all of us. It looks like all of us, a bunch of frat people, just spilled out of bed, stepped on a bunch of beer cans and headed to work.
We don't look any different than we do for the television show.
No, I'm saying that's how we... No, I agreed. I'm not saying, yes, we dress this way every day. I'm not saying that what I am saying is that when we do radio, it's like hanging around your house in your underwear. And when we do television, it's like hanging around your house when there's company. That's it. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, there's a couple of differences from a comfort standpoint. I love Myra, our makeup lady, but I could do without having a brush in my face. But if I don't, I look like a greasy monster because I have this blinding floodlight on me at all times.
They have done such a great job, the people at ESPN, such a great job of building for us an environment where it is not television intrusive. And yet still, I feel it. This feels like just talking to you guys.
Because, you are.
But I'm saying it never feels that way when we're doing television, even though I can't see any of the people who we're talking to in Washington, and I'm not thinking about them at all.
I think it's a commercial breaks, and I'm going to go ahead and send out a Steve Harvey email to make sure that we seal all the doors.
That's what it is, Mike. Yes. That's what it is. I'll send out the Steve Harvey email.
That includes me, right?
You're the worst offender.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm sitting here right next to you, man.
Well, you follow me, though, when you're not sitting here.
Well, because I have takes to tell you about, man. Wherever you go, I go, man. Who else is going to? I had no one.
Nobody give him the microphone at my eulogy. He's just going to start giving his opinions on whatever sporting events of that weekend.
I'm guessing I'm going before you go, man. That's that. It's just the way we've lived our lives. And I'd be happy for you to grab a microphone and deliver a eulogy for me.
No, wait a minute. I just meant that you wouldn't start talking about me. Don't be hurt by that.
I'm concerned about my health.
Sports opinions.
I'm not hurt by it.
Back to what you're saying, because I kind of feel it, because I sort of view everything that we do on this show through Dan's prism. We have a sensitive ecosystem here. It's kind of the last thing that you want to hear when you feel that certain way. It's like when you're getting emotional and fighting. Someone tells you, don't get emotional, relax. You don't want to hear that right now. These are my set of problems. And yes, I barely notice the cameras, but if it feels different, it feels different. And comfort is how we do this show.
Well, we'll see. We will see how this show feels. Let's figure out. The show's been on a hot streak. Like, the show has been really good for a good long time now, where it's not impacted by those television cameras.
The show's been better ever since we took that week to sort of figure out what was going on in the other studio. And we did a radio-only week where television wanted us on. Let's move back into the radio studio and figure things out. And the show's been good ever since we moved into these tiny, really cramped then
it was more obvious. I felt in the other studios, I felt it was more obvious, where I was always looking at cameramen and it never felt like we were having an intimate conversation. Because radio's unusual this way, man. Radio in 2017 has been passed by. It is a dinosaur. But radio has an impact, and it's my favorite of all the things to do because it is so intimate. You are largely someone who doesn't exist in person. You just exist inside someone's head. Like, it's such an intimate thing that's not how people watch television. You're making a choice on radio to go to a dinosaur medium. Oh, man.
That's a major fine. Not only on, but a weird ringtone and very loud.
Hey, too comfortable. See, that's why you don't want to get too comfortable when you're doing radio.
I would just empty out your pockets, man. Whatever's in there, that's what you owe.
It's a $5 maximum fine.
I mean, there's several violations there.
Who's calling right now? Is that an automated? Is that a robot?
I don't know. It's a number I don't recognize.
Okay, well, it's very disrespectful.
Do you know does it call you often, that number? Because you know how you can block these numbers. I learned how to do this. It's amazing. It's life changing.
No, I don't. Answer my phone.
I block one, but 3 more with a similar number pop up. It's
just
like
keep
whack-a-mole.
Yeah, just keep blocking them.
But every day,
right? I do it. And I give them the Matumbo finger. After I do it, I do.
I give them the speech because my dad one day took it. Let me speak to your supervisor. You know I'm on the do not call list, and this is a crime, a federal crime that you're committing. So I tried doing that, and I was arguing with an automated machine. I can never get to the supervisor, so I just block, and then they call with a number with like just the last digit changed.
I don't have voicemail, and I don't use my phone as a phone. I don't answer my phone.
What would your voicemail sound like? Just automated?
Well,
you've never checked your voicemail?
No, go ahead and call it. You can call it now.
Can I leave the voicemail message on your phone? I want to do that.
I don't know if you can or you can't. I've never checked the voicemail on my
It's
phone.
easy to set up. But most people, outside of Stugotz, most people don't leave voicemails anymore, unless it's truly urgent. Stugotz will leave you the voicemail, hey, call me back. A completely useless voicemail now that we get missed call alerts. I know to call you back.
I've learned this recently. Mike is right about this because my kids make fun of me. Everyone's making fun of me. You know this, right? No one's leaving voicemails anymore.
Well, Guillermo, put it on the poll. Do you leave voicemails? And do you use your phone as a phone? It's a good question.
Most people use their phones as phones.
I
think primarily, do you use your cell phone as a phone or a computer?
Do you use it more as a phone or as a computer?
Yeah, because it's 95% computer for me.
Wait a minute. Why can't I say, do you use your phone as a phone?
Well, because everyone did. You had to pick up the phone occasionally.
You occasionally. That's so absolute. You've made a phone call.
I mean, if your mom calls, you're going to pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. Your brother, your dad.
There's several people in your life that don't really know how to text well. You call your dad. You can't be absolute about that.
My dad can't text. My dad won't text. He will not learn how to text. We got him an iPhone. He just refuses. He's like, nope. He's just marching toward the grave his way. Nope. I'm done with this learning, boy.
God bless him.
It's so funny because
absolutely.
My brother and I, the first time we group texted with my dad, and it was my brother, me, and all the grandkids, and my dad simply responded. He was so thrown off by it. It was a dizzying experience for him. He just responded, what the hell is this?
But do you realize that you and me are a little bit like that now, technologically, with the guys and Allison in the other room?
Yes.
You know that, right? Like, they laugh at us, and, Mike, how do I do a GIF?
The GIF.
He's gotten better. He's gotten better at saving images rather than just taking screen caps of images.
Oh yeah, you gotta learn.
But he does this thing. You probably.
What are we talking about? Me or Stugotz?
We're talking about you.
Okay.
You're doing this thing right now where you clearly have an iPad that you use for messaging, and you have your phone, and we're all left in the dark as to what device we have to reach you on.
Yeah.
And there was one time there was a group text where you said, I can't reach Roy for some reason. Well, Roy doesn't have an iPhone, so you can't reach him because you're not texting him from a phone. Right. You're texting him from an iPad. Right. But good luck explaining that to Dan.
No, you just did. I understood it now.
Well, good luck having Dan change it.
Yes, that's no, you explained it to me. I understand it. Now the trick is changing it, and there will be no changes because I'm marching right behind my father.
So
I'm done with learning too, Pop.
Wait a second. If he's texting from the iPad, he can only text the people who have an Apple product?
Correct.
Really?
Yeah, you can't.
Wow.
You guys
See, I knew that. No, I knew that.
Here's where the space that I'm operating in.
I thought Roy had an iPhone. What does Roy have?
Android.
He's got an Android.
I didn't know that.
And that always ruins every group chat. Anyways, I'm operating in a place right now
an outsider.
where I don't know which device I need to text Dan
Our
on.
iChats are segregated.
Well, I'm not changing either. I'm going to march to the grave on my own, too.
You're marching in a different direction. Holding your Android.
Stugotz, if you want to get a hold of Dan, do you know what device to text him on?
Stugotz is just learning now that these are two different devices.
Because it pops up on your phone. There's one that's his number, the name that has on his contact, and the other one, which is his email address, which is clearly him on his iPad.
I always go to his phone first.
And there's a significant delay, I'm sure, in him getting back to you because...
Well,
I don't know.
he
do you not have your cell phone on you when you're on the iPad?
I'm not always connected. No, I sometimes my devices are in the trunk of my car for 8 hours. No, I'm not always connected.
It is weird. Everyone who knows you and knows you well, they're all bothered by the same thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They are bothered by the inability to reach me.
I've talked to Boog about this. Like,
everybody.
We could send you a text, and sometimes you get right back to us, and sometimes it's 8 days.
It's not just you guys.
Boog is one of your closest friends.
It's my girlfriend and my family, too. It's everyone in my life.
It's bizarre because 24 hours before I get a text from Dan of something, it's something that I had texted to him on his phone previously that he's getting back to me on his iPad about as if he's seeing it for the first time, laughing, hey, check this out. And I don't even know how to respond to that. I just don't.
What is Stugotz's most egregious technological refusal to evolve?
The voicemails, I think, and it's just annoying, but I can get Stugotz whenever I want Stugotz. He's very accessible. I send a text, I get one right back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm good at response. But I like, there's something, I enjoy a good voicemail. I do. I think it goes a long way.
How about you leave a good voicemail then?
Well, I know no, because now I know I'm armed that you don't, I would leave you a long one with a couple of hot takes, but I know you don't like them. I know you're bothered by him, and I know you're going to delete him and just call me back, so I don't do it anymore.
I doubt he even listens to him.
I don't. Now the iPhone transcribes your voicemail, so I can just see, hey, Mike, it's Stu, call me back. I can tell by the length.
Can you play the Stugotz voicemail to Boog Shambi this is, just so you guys can experience this if you haven't heard this, Boog Shambi had a charity tournament. Stugotz said he was going to win the softball tournament and raise the most money. And he'd be there, and I guarantee you, a bigger guarantee than even Joe Hayden becoming a wide receiver for the Patriots and ending up in the Pro Bowl. I guarantee you I'll be there.
I may play it, but I cringe at this. Like, this is one of the things, I know you guys think I'm incapable of shame, but this is one of the times where I really feel shame because I spent 2.5 minutes just lying to a good person and a good friend.
No, but it's not, no. You don't feel shame because you were lying. You feel shame because you were caught.
Boogie, it's Wayne. Hope all's well. Give me a call when you can. Sorry it took me a while to get to you. So here's the deal. I got, as badly as I want to come up and do this, because I told you via text, I got a really good friend of mine's son's bar mitzvah Saturday night, and I have the Sunshine State lacrosse tournament Saturday and Sunday that weekend. So, and I coach the team. It's my daughter's team. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for me, bud. I'm sorry. I can come up Friday, and fly back Saturday. That's, although I'm not entirely ruling it out, I just got to wait and see what time my games are on Saturday. If there's a morning game Saturday, it's going to make it pretty difficult, considering I'm the head coach and probably need to be there for that, like tournament of the year. So I should have the schedule in the next day or two. So, if I can't make it up, and if I do come up, I can only come up that Friday. If I can't make it up, I want to make a donation. Just let me know other ways I can help. And, and if it's an annual thing, it's up to me doing it again next year, then I'll definitely be there and just plan accordingly for it.
Guaranteed.
So when you can, miss you, love you, want to catch up with you. I'll talk to you soon, pal.
It is like watching a spider weave a tapestry of deceit and defeat. It's amazing to watch. Like, you could just see it. Like, you could see the web growing and how it spools out. And, I never ruled that out yet. And just lies stacked on top of lies.
Boog told me when he saw the length of the voicemail, he knew exactly what was coming.
Well, and I love Boog's retaliation, which is just to merely send it straight to us.
And the fact that I'm still falling for that.
like as if you thought it was a private voicemail. And Boog has an actual evolved phone beyond the iPhone and the Android that has an app that just immediately sends your voicemails into our radio empire. And then it just like...
It ends up in my system.
It ends up on the air with all of us pointing at you and you red-faced with shame.